This year, the University of California, San Diego is celebrating 50 years of education, research, and innovation in its quest to achieve the extraordinary. Thanks to the visionary leadership of Roger Revelle, the former director of Scripps Institution of Oceanography, UC San Diego has established itself as a world leader in higher education during the past half-century. If it weren't for the existence of Scripps Institution of Oceanography, which has been in La Jolla since 1905, there might never have been a University of California in San Diego. It's near the Scripps location that Revelle wanted to start and passionately fought for, a university to complement Scripps.
By the 1950s, Revelle began to realize, though, that for Scripps to really be a world leader scientifically, its graduate students had to be trained properly, and it was hard to do that when you just had a self-standing oceanographic institution without a physics department, a chemistry department, a biology department, a mathematics department. So he began to feel that for Scripps to achieve its full potential and leadership in the world, it had to be part of a university. So he really saw UCSD as a way of building Scripps rather than the other way around.
The easy part of starting the university was coming up with the idea, but to convince people that it was necessary to have the campus in La Jolla was much more difficult.
There were definitely people here in San Diego who saw it as a great idea. Certainly not all the faculty at Scripps, but I think most of the faculty at Scripps saw the virtue of the idea. There was definitely competition from other UC campuses who didn't like the idea of, an upstart campus competing with them. I think there were worries at LA that we would siphon off resources and students from UCLA. So for sure, yeah, there were definitely differences of opinion.
Once he was able to rally support for a university, and the Board of Regents approved the establishment of an Institute of Technology and Engineering at La Jolla, Revelle needed to secure land where it could be built. That proved to be a much harder task, with some people, including Edwin Pauly, director of the UC Regents, wanting the campus to be in Balboa Park, while Revelle insisted it be near Scripps in La Jolla.
It became a battle, and Pauly wanted it to be in Balboa Park, and he had hired an architect who was going to who came up with some number that would be too expensive to have a campus here. It became sort of a battle. And it turned out that the same architect had consulted with Scripps Hospital on the same issue, and they had asked him whether it would be too noisy to build a hospital here, and that man had come up with the decision, which he had in writing, that it would be a minor issue. Pauly didn't know that, and during a very important and contentious meeting, after Pauly said that this man had written a report saying it would add so many millions of dollars to the cost of this campus, we produced a letter he had written saying that it would be a minor cost for Scripps Hospital, which is closer to the air station.
And so it was decided that the land on which UCSD currently sits is where the first of the campus buildings would be built. Between 1956 and 1958, it was clear the local community supported the university's expansion plans when the City Council offered the university free of cost more than 500 acres of city-owned land, which was valued at several $1 million. As the land issue was resolved, Revelle dedicated himself to learning how to establish a successful university and how best it could support the research efforts at Scripps.
The vision that Revelle originally had, some people refer to it as Caltech South, it was really a vision of a cutting-edge research institution. It gets back to this idea of having chemists and biologists and mathematicians to support the oceanographic research mission. And Revelle actually initially was not particularly interested in undergraduates and really imagined a very, very small undergraduate population.
Revelle believed that a thriving university must be distinctive to be distinguished. And so in 1960, the university, soon to be officially known as the University of California, San Diego, enrolled its first graduate students in the physical sciences. As the university began to take shape, recruiting top-level faculty and exemplary students, Revelle assumed he would be named the first chancellor of UC San Diego, since it was his foresight and dedication that made the university a reality. Unfortunately, Revelle had not won over all his supporters while trying to establish the UC campus, and this, added to the bureaucracy of the university system, resulted in Herbert F. York being appointed the first chancellor, and he assumed office on July 1st, 1961.
Well, Roger is not the usual executive. He never answered his mail on time, never answered telephone calls, because he was always so involved in looking after the things that he was doing, the person he was talking to. And some people think that that was not the right kind of person to be head of a large organization.
As recognition of his commitment to UCSD, the Board of Regents voted to honor Revelle by renaming First College Revelle College in 1964, when the first undergraduate program began. By that time, Revelle had moved on to be the director of the Center for Population Studies at Harvard University.
There's the saying about how the universe is unfolding as it should. I think in some ways, it's always hard as a historian to say, but I think in some ways history worked out as it should have. He was a visionary, he was capacious, he was broad-minded. I think he had all the great qualities to kind of launch the university. I think he would have been very frustrated and probably frankly bored by a lot of the day-to-day operations of the university and the bickering between people. So I think he, in some weird way, was lucky that he was able to do what he wanted to do and then move on to other things. So I think in a way it worked out.
Although being overlooked for the position of chancellor was one of the biggest disappointments during Revelle's career, he remained an optimistic scientist at heart, always looking to the future and the possibilities that it held.
The problem of somehow adapting ourselves to the new age which is being created, not rejecting it, not wishing that we could go home again to some never land of the past, but somehow building up the courage and the fortitude and the vision to face the future that our increasing understanding of ourselves and of the universe will bring.